Voices of the Holocaust. First they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Pastor Martin Niemöller, who spent 7 years in concentration camps after protesting Nazi mistreatment of Jews. Creating context. Anti-Semitism, a history of hate. Anti-Semitism means prejudice against Jews. People who are anti-Semites don't want their children to marry or even be friends with Jews. Anti-Semites don't like to buy from Jewish businesses. Some anti-Semites burn crosses on the lawns of Jewish homes and paint swastikas on their temples. They blame Jews for everything that's wrong and believe Jews are too smart or too rich to own too much land. If you were a Jew in ancient times, you might have been enslaved by the Egyptians. You couldn't be a citizen in the ancient Roman Empire. If you were a Jew, Christians sometimes called you Christ killer, an allegation so inflammatory that it became the rallying cry of anti-Semitism for centuries. If you were a Jew in the Middle Ages, you were often forced to live in a walled ghetto. Non-Jews did not want you to influence them or their children, and merchants didn't want your business competing with theirs. Outside the gates of your ghetto, you were required to wear an identifying badge. At the outbreak of a plague called the Black Death in 1348, you might have been accused of poisoning the water. If you were a Jew in the 14th century Spain, the Inquisition, a series of religious trials, could have expelled you or worse. If you were a German Jew in 1879, you'd have been a target of Wilhelm Marr, who taught that Germans belonged to the Aryan race, master race, while Jews were by nature a slave race. Marr founded the League of Anti-Semitism to keep Germany from being taken over by Jews. If you were a Russian Jew in 1881, pogroms or organized attacks might have caused you and hundreds of thousands of others to immigrate to the United States or establish colonies in Palestine. In 1923, an embittered young soldier named Adolf Hitler was jailed for his part in a failed government coup. Hitler used his prison time to write Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a book filled with his plans for the creation of the Nazi Party and world domination, his belief in Aryan superiority, and, most ominously, his fanatical anti-Semitism. Upon release from prison, Hitler and a group of devoted followers began to preach the philosophy of Nazism, an explosive combination of economic depression in Germany and Hitler's powerful blend of treachery and inflammatory speech-making led to his appointment as chancellor in 1933. In 1934, he was elected president and named himself Führer, or supreme leader. Once in power, Hitler turned anti-Semitism into an official government policy. Within a decade, that policy had led to the murder of nearly 6 million European Jews, as well as gypsies, intellectuals, homosexuals, handicapped, Marxists, and other enemies of the state. While millions were murdered outright through the use of gas chambers and other methods of extermination, hundreds of thousands of others died from disease, starvation, and slave labor. Here we have a picture of concentration camps and killing centers. You'll notice that all the concentration camps are in Germany, and then the killing centers are in Poland, probably to kind of take some inspiration from Germany and put, the worst things in Poland. Faces of the Holocaust. Allied leaders, pictured above, met in Yalta in Russia. From the left, we have Winston Churchill. He was born in 1875 and died in 1965. British Prime Minister. Franklin Roosevelt was born in 1882 and died in 1945. He was the U.S. president. And Joseph Stalin, born in 1879 and died in 1953, was the dictator of Soviet Russia. Oskar Schindler, born in 1908 and died in 1974, he was a German businessman who first profited from the war but later became a hero by saving 1,300 Jewish workers from the gas chambers. Adolf Hitler, born in 1889 and died in 1945, Führer and Reichskanzler. He promised glory for the Germans and destruction for the Jews. Anne Frank, born in 1929 and died in 1945, her diary written while hiding from the Nazis brought the horror of the Holocaust to the world. Simon Wiesenthal, born in 1908 and at the time that this book was published in 2012 had not passed away yet, a Holocaust survivor, he gave up a career in architecture to become a relentless Nazi hunter. Major events of World War II and the Holocaust. 1933, January, Adolf Hitler appointed Chancellor of Germany. March, Dachau concentration camp opens. April, one-day boycott of Jewish shops and businesses, Gestapo, German International Security Police, established. May, public burnings of books written by Jews, political dissents, and others not approved by the state. August, Hitler proclaims himself Führer and Reichskanzler, leader and Reich Chancellor. 1935, May. Jews barred from serving in German army. September, Nuremberg laws passed. As a result, Jews no longer considered German citizens. Jews could not marry Aryans, nor could they fly the German flag. 1936, March. Jewish doctors barred from practicing medicine in German institutions. August, Juden verboten, no Jews. Signs displayed outside many towns are removed during the Olympic Games in Berlin. 1937, July, Buchenwald concentration camp opens. 1938, March, Hitler annexes Austria. August, Italy enacts sweeping anti-Semitic laws. October, Germans mark all Jewish passports with large J to restrict Jews from leaving the country. September, Munich Agreement, Britain and France accept German takeover of part of Czechoslovakia. October, 17,000 Polish Jews expelled from Germany. November, Kristallnacht, 9th through the 10th, decree forces all Jews to transfer retail businesses to Aryan hands, all Jewish pupils expelled from German schools. 1939, September, Germany invades Poland, World War II begins. November, Jews in German-occupied Poland forced to wear an armband or yellow star. 1940, April, Germany invades Denmark and Norway. May, Germany invades Holland, Belgium, and France. Concentration camp established at Auschwitz. June, France surrenders. August, Battle of Britain. Germany's attempt to bomb Britain into submission begins. 1941, June, Germany invades the Soviet Union. July, Hitler appoints Reinhard Heydrich to implement the final solution of the Jewish question. September, 34,000 Jews massacred at Babi Yar outside Kiev, Russia. December, Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. United States declares war on Japan and Germany. 1942. January, Heydrich outlines plan to murder Europe's Jews. German 6th Army surrenders at Stalingrad. October, armed revolt in Sobibor, extermination camp. 1943, April, Warsaw Ghetto revolt begins. August, revolt at death camp in Treblinka, Poland. 1944, June, D-Day, Allied invasion at Normandy, France. July, group of German officers attempts to assassinate Hitler. Russians liberate Monodoc killing center. October, revolt by inmates at Auschwitz. 1945, April, Hitler commits suicide. May, VE, Victory in Europe Day. Germany surrenders, end of Third Reich. August, first atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. September, Japan surrenders, end of World War II. This next page you will see is our concept vocabulary. Following terms and definitions are useful as you read and discuss the selections in this book. Aryan race. Aryan was originally applied to people who spoke any Indo-European language in India, Western Asia, and Europe. The Nazis, however, primarily used the term to refer to people of Northern European racial ancestry, especially those with blue eyes and blonde hair. Concentration camp. Upon their ascent to power, on January 30th, 1933, the Nazis established concentration camps for the imprisonment of all enemies of their regime, political opponents, Jehovah's Witnesses, gypsies, homosexuals, and other asocials. Beginning in 1938, Jews were targeted for internment solely because they were Jews. Final solution. The cover name for the plan to destroy the Jews of Europe, the final solution of the Jewish question. It began in December 1941. Jews were rounded up and sent to extermination camps in the East. The program was deceptively disguised as resettlement. Genocide, the deliberate and systematic destruction of a religious, racial, national, or cultural group of people. Ghetto. The Nazis revived the concept of medieval ghetto in creating their compulsory Jewish quarter. The ghetto was a section of a city where all Jews from the surrounding areas were forced to reside, surrounded by barbed wire or walls. Nazi, from the German words for National Socialist. A Nazi was a member or supporter of the National Socialist Party in Germany, led by Adolf Hitler. Propaganda, ideas or claims spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opponent's cause. Scapegoat, a person or group that bears the blame for others. Scapegoating is the process of blaming others for one's problems. Third Reich, the German state during the Nazi period. This is the end of the creating context section.